City Council for Tuesday, November 19th, 2024 to order. We ask that you have patience with us tonight as we have a newly installed system, so we will be learning as we go along. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Ball.
I'm going to use this.
Press mic.
Mic is on. I am here.
Councilmember Starbuck.
Present.
Councilmember Vega.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gilda Aiello.
Here.
Mayor Janelle Osborne.
Here. I would like to invite Pastor Nate Marsh forward for, thank you, for our invocation followed by our pledge.
Let's pray. God, the Thanksgiving season is here, and so we give you thanks. First, I want to thank you for protecting our kids and reminding us how fragile life can be. Lord, thank you for the Vandenberg Middle School going into lockdown, and Lord, that no one was hurt, and our first responders and security forces acted quickly. Lord, you're so good. Thank you for the peaceful process that we've been through with our recent elections. I thought for sure there'd be troublemakers that would cause problems and stir trouble and riot and loot, and yet there is peace. We give you thanks. We thank you for preserving our community with the Santa Lucia fire that threatened the south of Vandenberg Village. We thank you for the emergency response personnel who responded so quickly and decisively to extinguish that threat. Continue to protect those that respond to fires and other emergencies in our community and our state. And God, Veterans Day just passed, and so we thank you for our military service members. Thank you for their sacrifice and service to protect our country and give them strength and insight. Lord, we thank you for a beautiful community with near perfect weather that we enjoy almost on a daily basis. And we give you thanks for the bits of growth and development of our city. Thank you for those who work tirelessly to make more opportunity for businesses. We thank you that we can acknowledge your favor and your blessings. God, there are still many problems and unresolved issues, but we thank you that we have many blessings that place our trials in perspective. We thank you for the service of this council who invest their time apart from their families, their business responsibilities. Give them joy in their labors, give them wisdom, bless them, bless their leadership. Give them encouragement, and give encouragement to those that work with them. Bless the many hands that keep our city moving, working, organized, and clean. Bless the city with peace and spiritual wholeness found in you. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I just wanted to note that we had a proclamation honoring Law Enforcement Records and Support Personnel Appreciation Week presented to the Lompoc City Police Department Records and Support Personnel last week on the 12th over at the police station. Tonight, I would like to present the proclamation for Small Business Saturday to our Chamber of Commerce, and its president of the board is here with us tonight, Chuck Benson. So Small Business Saturday is really important here because our community is made up of so many locally owned businesses. And after Black Friday, we really want to remind our public to go out and support the local businesses. So this proclamation is to remind us and support that. Whereas the City of Lompoc celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. And whereas according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 34.7 million small businesses in the United States. Small businesses represent 99.7% of firms that pay employees. Small businesses are responsible for 61.1% of net new jobs created since 1995, and small businesses employ 45.9% of the employees in the private sector in the U.S. And whereas 68 cents of every dollar spent at a small business in the U.S. stays in the local community, and every dollar spent at small businesses creates an additional 48 cents in local business activity as a result of employees and local businesses purchasing local goods and services. And whereas public awareness of the contributions made by Lompoc local businesses is the key to sustaining a healthy business climate. And whereas the people of Lompoc are grateful to the small, locally owned businesses of Lompoc for their generous contributions to the quality of life we all enjoy. And whereas we join the Lompoc Valley Chamber of Commerce in supporting Lompoc's locally owned small businesses. Now therefore I, Janelle Osborne, Mayor of the City of Lompoc, do hereby proclaim Saturday, November 30th, 2024, as Small Business Saturday in the City of Lompoc, and urge all residents of Lompoc to join the rest of America and do a portion of their holiday shopping at small, locally owned businesses. Mike's yours if you'd like.
On behalf of the Lompoc Valley Chamber of Commerce, we are grateful for this recognition of our ongoing support of the national event Small Business Saturday. We believe this event supports and recognizes the heartbeat of our community, our small local owned businesses. We thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will have our city manager report. Mr. Elbow?
Thank you, Mayor. So we need to turn around. Oh, there.
You're on.
I can talk. Yeah, well, first I want to thank the communications team for all the improvements they did for the chamber, and you guys did a great job. I know we got some learning in front of us, and we'll get through it. Go to the next one. Okay. I want to take a moment and thank everybody that came out for Make a Difference Day on Saturday, October 26th. We had about 60 volunteers. We did some work here at City Hall, the Aquatic Center, A&N Central, Riverbend Park, and the Spike Skills Park down there too as well. Thank you to everybody that volunteered. October 28th was National First Responder Day. I want to thank the police and fire for everything you do to keep us safe. We really appreciate you guys. Next slide. We received close to $5.5 million grant for transit. That was with SBCAG, Santa Barbara County Association of Governments, and the Transit Department. That'll help with us to install solar, charge our buses. We also got $14.4 million for 23 electric buses throughout the county. Next slide. We're finishing up the Cape Seal project. I want to thank engineering and streets for what a great job they did to minimize traffic. They're going to start doing striping and pavement markers, and I'm sure they'll do a great job minimizing traffic disruptions there, and we appreciate what you guys are doing. Finally, we're looking for volunteers for the Lompoc Outdoor Community Market. It's every week, Saturday from 9 to 3 p.m. You can get more information from Parks and Rec on their webpage, or you can call 875-8100. That's all I have for today.
Thank you for that. Any questions for our city manager?
Sorry?
Seeing none, we will move on to, that's actually for the council to ask. Sorry about that. Seeing that, we'll move on to consent calendar. Consent calendar is all items listed on a consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted after one motion in the form listed below. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to council vote. Any items withdrawn from the council consent calendar for separate discussion will be addressed immediately before the second oral communications near the end of the meeting. We will now open the floor for public comment on consent calendar. If you would like to come to the podium for your 3 minutes, you may. Items 1 through 14 are on consent calendar. If you want to call in, you can call in at 805-875-8201. You will either way have 3 minutes. With our new format, The 3 minutes will show up on a digital display at the podium. When you reach the last 15 seconds, it will go yellow, and when your 3 minutes are up, it goes red and the mic automatically goes off. If you are calling in, we will monitor the 3 minutes for you and we'll hang up as you are done. All right.
Mayor?
Yes.
Sorry, before we take any public comment on this item, Councilmember Ball did inform me tonight that he's going to recuse himself from items number 10 and 13 because the organizations that are involved with those items are sources of income to him. So number 10 and 13. Because they're on the consent calendar, he does not need to leave the room.
Thank you for that clarification. All right, any questions, items to pull? Seeing no one rise for public comment, no one calling in, we'll close it and bring it back to council for any items to pull. Councilmember Wall?
I don't necessarily have an item to pull, but I was curious just because there's a big number on item number 11. I think it's good news, but I was just curious if, Chief, if you'd be willing, just, looks like we're getting a grant for, it's adding up to over $1 million. I just wanted to see if we could get an idea, big picture of what we should expect from getting those funds over the next couple of years.
Well, much like the council that has new technology, the police departments need new technology as well. And what this technology will do is make us much more efficient than we are today and allow us to now fully, the patrol officers to be able to stay in the field and do their computer entry, see what's going on in the community versus having to go to a call to the station. Quite honestly, the officers are spending way too much time, in my opinion, in the station, but they have to because they have to get the reports to the DA's office and to the courts. So what this does, this technology is cloud-based and it meets our IT requirements. We will now be able to have the cops in the field much more than they are today with this kind of technology. And it is linked to our body cams. And that's why we're going sole source request on this, because it's a software that is unique to the company, and we need it to be able to communicate. So if the fire chief and I are both wearing body cams, we go out on a call, those body cam videos will automatically be attached to that call and already in the evidence file for that call. So it's this kind of technology that we need to enhance our ability and our efficiency for this city to make it much better for the community. And it'll carry us into the future to make us much better at what we do, quite honestly.
Well, that's great news. I think this community's happy to hear that. If everything goes according to plan, best case scenario, how soon would that be fully implemented?
We're hoping in the next 6 months. Part of the contract is to bring in 20 years worth of legacy data. So they're going to come in, they're going to take this data, they're going to clean it, they're going to make sure it's not duplicated so we have accurate data, they're going to make it into searchable PDFs so our dispatchers, if we make contact with somebody, we can still see the history of everybody that we've had. We're not starting from scratch, and that's very, very important for what we do. As you said earlier, we were able to get $728,000 in federal grant monies to help with the purchase of this technology, and it's really setting us up for a bright future.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
All right. Seeing no one else having any questions, I will ask the clerk to turn on the motion buttons. And then whoever's ready to make the motion hits that, and whoever would like to second the motion and state the motion, if you wouldn't mind. Your mics are now live if you would like to say that you would like to accept consent calendar in its entirety.
Mine didn't give me an option.
Well, it's because Councilmember Aiello, as you can see on the screen, has already made the motion, and I'm just asking her to state the motion for the record, and then you'll be able to second it if you'd like.
On the little print.
Yes.
Got it.
There you go.
I'm just practicing too.
That's all right.
I make a motion to accept consent calendar.
All right, and then Councilmember Starbuck, if you'd like to second that, hit the second motion button. And there we go, and then on the big screen, you can see that you each made the motion and you seconded. And so now, if there are no further questions, I'll ask the clerk to turn on our voting buttons. And now you see they've all gone live, so pick your answer.
I just had a quick question, just since I'm abstaining from a couple items, I don't want to hit the wrong button and have to backtrack. And should I?
You can vote to approve if you would like to, and you just automatically are recused from 10 and 13.
Okay, just want to be sure.
It's
Thank
already
you.
been noted that you've abstained from the two items you mentioned. So now you can see that Councilmember Ball needs to vote, so push your vote button. And now you see we're all voted, and now the council clerk will accept our votes, and you will see the results. And now you can see that the answer is 5-0 on the consent calendar approval. And for future, you can then see also the breakdown of the votes will appear above that. All right. Trying to be, and it looks complex, but we're trying to make it as easy as possible. All right, the next item is staff presentations, which we don't have any, but we will move on to oral communications. This is your opportunity for any item not currently on the city agenda. So if you would like to speak to a city matter not currently on the agenda, now is your time. You may come to the podium and have 3 minutes, or you may call in at 805-875-8201. Again, the podium has its own light and a digital display for 3 minutes. It will light up green, and when you are done commenting, 15 seconds left will turn yellow, and then it will turn red and turn off the microphone.
Good evening, council members. My name is Tracy Shriver. I am a lifelong Lompoc resident, former Lompoc High School alumni president, mom and grandma of Lompoc residents, and a commuter to Santa Barbara for work. In preparation for today, I've been reaching out to residents and commuters to demonstrate to you that the Lompoc community parking lot on I Street in Cypress is a significant issue to anyone that uses it and those that fear it. I am here today to present a petition signed by concerned residents and commuters who use the Lompoc commuter parking lot. We are requesting the installation of security cameras. I, along with many Lompoc residents, have been affected directly by car break-ins, vandalism, and along with many Lompoc residents, have been affected directly by those things. These crimes have caused significant distress for commuters, unplanned financial expenses, and have raised concerns about safety in and around the parking lot. The issue has been discussed previously by the council, and it is now time to act on the general consensus that something needs to be done to address the problem. However, the problem continues to affect Lompoc residents, and we are tired of the conversation. It is time to act. Our concrete plan is simple: install security cameras. To that end, I am presenting this signed petition which reflects strong community support for our recommendation that is simple, relatively inexpensive, and extraordinarily effective. Install security cameras in the lot. Adding cameras will help deter criminal activity and will also improve overall safety for the public. In addition, it will allow for more efficient use of police resources by reducing the need for constant patrols in the area. With the cameras in place, law enforcement will have a reliable tool to investigate incidents more effectively. A recent Cornell University study states that security cameras in parking lots reduce crime by as much as 50%. We understand installing security cameras involves both financial and logistic commitment, but given the consistent reports of break-ins, we believe it is an investment that will pay off in both crime reduction and public confidence. I ask that the City Council take the next step in moving this initiative forward, including obtaining quotes and establishing a timeline for installation. Our community is counting on your leadership to help make our public spaces safer, and we expect this issue will remain on the City Council agenda until it has been resolved. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
And can I present the sign?
To the city.
Thank you for your time.
Did we have a caller? No?
do not have a caller. They were calling about the technical issues with the video is not working, or there's no audio for the video.
All right, but you guys are taking care of that. Awesome.
Yes.
All right, thank you for the update. All right, moving on, if there is no additional oral communications, if you'd like, come to the microphone.
Hello. Good evening, members of City Council. My name is Brian Buchanan. I'm an engineer that works with a local power company called Oasis Powers. We are just trying to gauge interest from the city of Lompoc in potentially sponsoring a solar farm for the city. We have the funding. We have started the design of the project, but we would like to open up negotiations with the city and are just trying to figure out who would be best to talk to in regards to any sort of interest and potential power needs that the city has that we could specifically tailor the project to. That was pretty much all I have on that end.
See the city manager and reach out to the utility.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right, seeing no one else rise and no one else call in, we will close oral communications and move on to item number 15. Item number 15 is council appointment to the Beautification Commission. They are moving forward on the Christmas decoration contest and need an appointment in order to continue and have a quorum. So we have Lee Weir, who represents District 1 and is willing to take that appointment and be present in order to make that quorum. I do know that Council Member Aiello has a term ending 12/20/24, which would meet that, if you would like to make that nomination. You have the floor.
I will go ahead and nominate Lee. I will go ahead and nominate Lee. Weir, you said that's how you pronounce the last name. I want to make sure I get that right. For the position, and then I guess after that, would they just reapply or? Yeah. All right. That's it.
So we need to clear the make a motion because currently the second motion light is on. All right, so now everything we should clear it one more time because it says we've got motion made and then you seconded. I think it's all good.
Yes.
So do it again. All right, hit make a motion for your motion. All right, now you hit second.
Nothing's on, now it is. But the second isn't.
All right, let me clear it one more time. Okay, hold on.
All right, she's made it. Now you make yours. All right, now we go to the voting process.
I don't get a prize?
You're on par for getting this. I am so very proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so 5-0, you're reappointed. Congratulations and thank you. Thank you. All right. We appreciate these easy ones because we're going to get more complicated as we go on for the night. All right. The next item is public hearing for 16, consideration of Planning Commission recommendations for approval of the Lompoc Housing Element Update of 2030 General Plan for the 2023-2031 Housing Sixth Cycle, adoption of Resolution 67-21-24, adopting the Housing Element Update. We have Mr. Halverson and our consultant to do the presentation, as well as a caveat from our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. I need to start out on this item by announcing some conflicts of interest that some city council members have on this item. This is the housing element update that amends and revises certain policies related to some zones and parcels throughout the city. So I need to announce that there are 3 council members who have conflicts on this item. Mayor Osborne has a conflict on anything in this item related to the R2 residential 2 zone. That is because she owns property within 500 feet of the R2 zone. Councilmember Cordova has a conflict also on anything related to the R2 zone. She has a source of income of hers that is adjacent to an R2 parcel. Councilmember Starbuck has a number of conflicts on this item. He has a conflict related on anything related to the Old Town Commercial Zone, the Mixed Use Zone, the Residential 2 Zone, the Residential 3 Zone, and a number of sites that are in our RENA list of housing element sites. Those are sites near the intersection of College and I Street, sites numbers 43, 73, and 75. Sites that are in our downtown area, sites number 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, 36, 40, 41, and 68. And also site number 21 on the southeast corner of the city. After the staff report and after public comment tonight, I will guide the discussion. We're going to have to segment the discussion into different parts with council members that have conflicts leaving the room for the parts where they have conflicts. So, but first will be the staff report and public comment.
Mr. Huddleston, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. 1 year ago, almost exactly, the council approved an update to the housing element. During that time, we worked with HCD to try to get our housing element certified. We were unsuccessful, so we worked with HCD probably about 9 or 10 months. Just recently, we received a letter from HCD saying that, thank you.
Trying to get the mic closer.
That's all I saw. HCD stated that our housing element, with these changes that are being presented tonight, would be compliant with state housing law. So that's exciting. We have been working very closely, as I said, with HCD. Our consultant, Ryan Lester, will be up in just a second to run through a brief, it won't be long, presentation. There's also just a couple quick housekeeping items in the back near the librarian. There is the environmental documents that the city has worked on, as well as copies of the housing element, if someone would like to grab a copy and read along or follow along as we go through it. There is a couple things that I'll come back at the end. We found a couple errors, so I'll emphasize those errors in just towards the end. And lastly, I just want to thank the council. A year ago, they adopted the housing element, and now we're asking for a re-adoption to send it back to HCD shortly. So Ryan Lester with Meteor Harnish is going to do a brief presentation, and then there's a couple items at the end I'd like to mention.
Okay, thank you for having me today, Mayor and council members, to talk to you about the housing element. My name is Ryan Lester. I'm with Meteor Harnish, and we're under contract to assist the city with the housing element update. So, as Brian mentioned, November last year, the city adopted the housing element. We submitted it to HCD as required. They get 60 days to review it, and they came back with a number of comments and things they wanted to see addressed in order to comply with state law. When they give you comments, you have to address them. You can try to justify some other way of doing it, but really every comment has to be addressed. So we took that comment letter, which came in January of last year, and started addressing those comments. Now, I'll make a note here. There are two types of HCD review. So the state actually gets a 90-day review and a 60-day review, and they always take the full 90 days or 60 days if they get those. Those are the two minimum required formal reviews that you have to submit for. Since our review of the adopted element was that second one, beyond that, we're allowed to submit drafts to HCD informally, right? And what this is it allows us the opportunity to get them to review it extra, right? To give us more comments and to do it in 2 or 3 weeks instead of that 60-day period. Because every formal review even after that 60-day review is 60 days. So we did actually revise the element and resubmit it to HCD 2 times and got additional comments each time, and those had to be addressed. So we'll go through those. It was like a 10-month process. It's a lot, and I will say, we're going through this on all of our projects with all of our cities and counties in California. I was recently on a panel with one of the HCD employees who reviews housing elements, and they said, yes, we get minimum of 2 reviews, but you should expect 4 to 7, right? We actually got a letter from HCD that says we can apply in 4 reviews. So just for some context there. Every city and county is up against this. So we did recently take the revised housing element to the Planning Commission. That was on October 9th. As well as with this letter that we got from HCD after the last review that said your housing element complies. And the Planning Commission voted to recommend adoption. So this is a kind of a calendar of the reviews. You see we did the June to August of last year was the first review. That's the 90-day review. And then after you adopted, then we did the 60-day review. We got additional comments, so we resubmitted in March, and then we resubmitted again in May, just because HCD had more and more comments. And we'll go through them very quickly, generally, on the next slides. Okay, so now we're going to go through the revisions very quickly. So just so everyone knows, the housing element is shown in track changes because that's what's required by the state. We use red text for deletions, blue text for any additions, just for easy reading. And then what we do is, with each round of review, we use a different highlighting color to indicate the changes that happened based on that round of review. So that first round of changes that we did based on the January comments, those are just shown in track changes. And then the next round uses yellow highlighting, and the next round after that uses green. I've actually gone to like 5 colors with some cities, just because you go through so many rounds of review, you have to make it easy for them to see the new changes, right? And to see what was already drafted. So we got a big comment letter in January on the adopted element. There's 3 themes here to all of these comment letters, and they are programs, sites, and constraints, right? HCD typically, and this was our second round of review, at that point, they really start asking for more along the lines of programs. So they want you to go further with your programs, they want you to provide more detail. This is typical of the second letter because in the first letter they deal with some of the more surface level stuff, and then once your programs are kind of settled, then they get into the nitty-gritty on those programs. So they asked for us to provide more detail on a number of our programs. They required us to include replacement unit program just for compliance with state law. And then they had a number of comments on our sites. So with sites, HCD always wants more justification of why you included it, why you made the assumptions that you did, and then analyses of certain types of sites. So small sites, large sites, non-vacant sites, all of those things, they have specific things they need in the analysis. So they asked us to provide more in each of our analyses. There was a state law compliance issue related to emergency shelters in AB 2339 that we had to address. And then the last bullet there is on constraints. So HCD they always look at your land use controls, so your setbacks, lot coverage, height, and they look for, okay, are any of those really, do we feel, and we, HCD, feel that those are a constraint to multifamily development and specifically to affordable housing types. So they identified the height restrictions in R3, OTC, and MU as being a constraint. So we had to address those. We addressed all those comments. We provided more detail about all of our sites, more detail in our programs, and we resubmitted for informal review and then got an informal comment letter. Did I skip one? So again, all of the comments are on the same themes. So programs, they still wanted more. They wanted some of our programs pushed up to be sooner in the planning period, just so it makes it more feasible that it will actually affect the housing market in the planning period. They wanted to see a few extra anti-displacement actions and a few extra program details, so we added those. And then they had some more comments on sites. They just wanted more justification and more analysis of our related to small sites, as well as non-vacant sites. And then there was, they continued to push back against the city's land use controls and identify them as a constraint. So we actually had to add a commitment to increase the residential floor area allowed in the OTC zone. They just felt like something along the lines of 50% just wasn't enough based on our assumptions in the science inventory. And so we made those revisions, resubmitted, got another informal comment letter, and we had to make more revisions. So they pushed back on the OTC zone assumptions, even though we increased the lot coverage there for residential uses. So we had to actually lower some of our assumptions for the OTC zone and lower the capacity that we assumed on those sites, just to fit with development trends. We actually removed two non-vacant sites. HCD makes you point to a lot of factors that connect what you're assuming about your sites to what's been developed either regionally or locally in the past. And so there were two sites that we just couldn't make enough of those connections, so rather than continue to argue with HCD, we removed those sites. They, of course, can be developed as the city sees fit. And then finally, we made revisions to the policy language related to what we call recycled sites or previously used lower income sites. After you list a site in multiple housing elements, there's some HCD requirements for how you process that site if a developer comes in with 20% floor. So you have to allow by right. So we included that language there. And so those were the main revisions. And then, yeah. And then we did have a conversation with HCD in June. They wanted some clarification on that last program policy that I mentioned, and we provided some small comments. And they actually gave us a letter that said, hey, the city, as written, the housing element is currently compliant with state law. If you re-adopt it and resubmit it, then you can achieve certification. Ryan's going to go over this slide, but I did want to mention that there are a few small text edits that need to be made for accuracy in the housing element. They're all related to sites and the sites table. So one is that site 31, in the table itself, not in the analysis of that, but in the table it's listed as 0.8 acres. It's actually 0.4, so we need to make that text edit. And then site 49 actually now has an ADU and a JADU on site, so we need to note that in the sites table. Site 69 is another one where the acreage is actually lower than is listed, so the acreage is actually 1.8 acres rather than 2.4. And then finally, there's one site, site 81, that it lists the zoning as CB with an H Street overlay. It's actually PCB with an H Street overlay. So we did find those and need to correct those. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Brian.
And I just wanted to, for City Attorney, it would be best at the end to voice in those corrections to the housing element that we just decided.
Yes, the council can adopt the housing element with those changes that we just did.
Great. We're almost done. So future code amendments, so it'll be our job to go back and bring to the council some amendments to the general plan and the zoning code, for example, allowing some taller buildings and some additional density and lot coverage. So we will bring that back to the council soon. I just wanted to remind the council that there's a lot at stake. Over $6 million in grants and programs, both past, present funding. So one of the big ones that we're working on right now is the Permit Ready ADU program that myself and the director is working on. We received over $400,000 in grant money. That is dependent on an approved and certified housing. So I just want to emphasize that it is important that the council realizes that if we try to make substantial changes tonight, that more than likely it will not be certified by the state. That also opens us up to the business remedy, which will allow people to come in and apply for applications and not abide by our zoning and general plan standards. So lastly, I'm not going to read this, it's a mouthful, and it's in your packet, but the Planning Commission is recommending approval of the housing element update. I am available for any questions at this time, as well as our consultant. That does conclude the presentation this evening.
All right. Mr. Malave, as long as we don't ask questions regarding any of our conflict areas, we can have a general discussion and ask questions. If they are related to any of the items where any of us need to recuse, then those of us that cannot have a part of that discussion, do you need us to leave the podium or just not participate in the discussion?
You can ask questions now, and if I feel like we need to have some recusals, I will let you know.
Awesome, thank you. Just wanted to remind us of that issue. All right, so we've had the presentation. We're able to ask Brian or the consultant or our city attorney any questions before we go to public comment, if there are any. Remember to push the button that says RTS mic if you'd like to speak, so that I know who'd like to speak, since our lights up front are on. And guess what, Mr. Starbuck? I don't have to talk between because it's not the old system. Now it will pick things up.
It's a blessing.
It's a blessing. I don't have to keep talking, even though I am right now. All right, seeing no questions for staff or the consultant, we will move to public comment. If you would like to speak on item 16, you may come to the podium for your 3 minutes, or you may call in at 805-875-8201, 805-875-8201. When you get to the podium, I'm just reminding everyone, you have a digital timer in front of you. It will show 3 minutes. It will be green. As you get to 15 seconds left, it will go yellow. And when it goes red, the microphone will go off. If you call in, then we will monitor the 3 minutes for you, and we will hang up at the 3-minute time frame. Seeing no one rise for public comment on this item and seeing no one call in, we will close public comment on item 16 and bring it back to council for either discussion, questions, or to make a motion.
Mayor?
Yes.
If there were going to be significant deliberation and discussion about any of the zones or the sites, then we would need to segment the discussion and have people leave the dais for certain discussions. And then at the end, all council members can vote to approve this. I'm getting the sense that there may not be a lot of discussion. So if the council has questions or wants to discuss certain zones, then we can do the segmentation and the recusals. But if not, then it is appropriate for the entire council to vote right now on approving this.
Thank you for that clarification. All right.
I thank staff for all of the work that went into putting this together, the consultant as well for seeing us through all the changes and the back and forth. I think there's been a lot of work and a lot of deliberation on this particular item for the past year and a half, and I personally would like to motion to accept it as the Planning Commission has recommended it and move it forward.
With the edits that were requested for text edits.
Yes, with the text edits that were mentioned at the beginning of the presentation.
And I could repeat those if I need
I think we got Councilmember Ball, you did have, and then you turned it off? Did you?
I didn't. I
Okay.
think I just hit the button once.
Okay,
but-
all right. I was just checking because it went on and then it went off, and I wanted to make sure you had a chance to speak.
Yeah, I think I just
Okay.
hit it once. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Do you want me to clear the vote? Do you want me to clear the motions or, no? No, it's okay.
I think it's okay. I just wanted to make sure Councilmember Ball had his chance to speak because his mic went hot and then it disappeared, and I wanted to make sure that it wasn't a mistake.
So, I'm happy to second the motion. If
Councilmember Vega's done that.
he's already done that,
Yeah.
so I'll just make my comment. I think the most important thing that we can do is get this across the finish line. We're really jeopardizing a lot of state funds, a lot of resources that we rely on. So I'd really like to thank the Planning Commission for putting their heads together, giving a lot of important feedback back to the city. And I'm glad that we can finally get this done. It's taken some time.
All right. So, as you can see by the screen, the motion by Councilmember Aiello, it's been seconded by Councilmember Vega. If we are all ready to vote and there's no more comments, then go ahead and vote. All right, and that passes 4-1. You now have an approved housing element. Okay. Last item on the agenda is item number 17, review of draft City of Lompoc Transit, which we call COLT, reimagined study and service alternatives by Mr. Fernball, our aviation and transportation administrator.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'm going to turn this over to Wayne Wilkes, our newest transit airport analyst. My work is not doing real good, so Wayne's worked extensively on this, and I'm sure can answer any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Richard, for the introduction. Madam Mayor and mayors and members of the City Council, thank you for having me. Good evening. On behalf of the City of Lompoc Transit, I am pleased to present you today a visual representation of the staff report and reimagining study that you have already received. This presentation aims to provide an overview of the recommendations and the impact they will have on our transit system. We are excited to share this information with you and look forward to your feedback as we work together to enhance transportation services in our community. Current service offerings. The map on this slide illustrates the current fixed routes within the City of Lompoc. As you can see, we have 3 local routes that serves key areas within the city. In addition to these routes, the City of Lompoc Transit, COLT, also provides services to Vandenberg Village, Mission Hills, as well as San Ynez on a Monday through Saturday basis, with 2 trips to Santa Barbara weekly. This further expands our reach and provides valued connectivity for our community. Current situation. COLT's current services are primarily funded through a combination of federal and state transit funds, without the need for general funds. And importantly, these funds are allocated specifically for transit use, meaning that they cannot be redirected to other non-transit purposes. This ensures that the funding we receive is used solely to support and improve the transit services in our community. As the slide highlights, many factors have changed in the landscape surrounding COLT over the last 20 years, since the last 4 service alterations. These changes present new opportunities and challenges, and it's important that we adapt our transit system to better meet the evolving needs of our residents and the surrounding areas. to help identify some of the possible improvements we could do, Colt decided to embark upon the Transit Reimagining Study. The project's objectives were conducted with the primarily goal of restructuring Colt to make it better meet the mobility needs of the Lompoc service area. Through this study, we aim to improve convenience for riders, reduce both travel and waiting times, and ultimately increase ridership. At the same time, we are focused on ensuring the financial sustainability of our transit system so that we can continue to provide reliable and efficient services for years to come. We began this process with public engagement and scenario development. The first part was the public engagement process, which took place from June to September 2024. This was a critical part of the study and focused on quantifying the community's mobility needs and priorities. We employed a variety of engagement methods to ensure that we gathered a diverse perspectives from our residents. As you can see, all the different fun things that we did up there over the last 6 months to get as much feedback as possible. The input collected from the community was then combined with professional data analysts to develop and present 8 distinct service scenarios, each specifically designed to address the mobility challenges and needs of our community. In addition to these scenarios, several additional recommendations were put forward to enhance the overall quality of service. These recommendations included program enhancements, route adjustments, and strategies to increase ridership, all aimed at creating a more efficient and accessible transportation system. This collaborative approach allowed us to incorporate both valuable community feedback and expert analysis, ensuring that the proposed solutions reflect real needs and aspirations of those who rely on our transportation system. The images on the screen are featured on pages 154 and 158 of the Lompoc Transit Reimagining Study. I know they can be a little bit hard to see from here. These pages display the 8 service scenarios and 8 program enhancements that were carefully developed and presented to the public during a second community workshop held September 18th, 2024. These scenarios and enhancements were crafted through a thoughtful combination of community input gathered during the first round of feedback and detailed analysis by transportation professionals. At the workshop, participants had the opportunity to engage directly with the proposed scenarios, ranking their preferences and sharing their views on which options would best address the needs of the community. In addition to ranking the services and scenarios, attendees were also asked to prioritize a series of supplemental service program recommendations. That's more of those image on the right. All aimed at improving overall transportation experience. This hands-on collaborative process allowed us to refine our approach based on the needs and desires of those who rely on Colt services every day. Input gathered during the second workshop was invaluable in helping us refine the 3 most popular service alternatives. These scenarios were shaped directly by the feedback from the community, ensuring that the final options reflect the needs and preferences of our residents. Before we dive into the various scenarios, it's important to establish a clear understanding of what microtransit is. Microtransit is defined as a general public, on-demand, shared ride, origin to destination service. Typically utilizing smaller vehicles than the traditional buses we might be familiar with. This distinction is crucial as it helps frame the way we think about the potential impact to our community, in our community. The first scenario on there, scenario 5, builds upon the current status quo, service by replacing both fixed route and dial-a-ride services with on-demand general public microtransit service during the weekday evenings and Saturday. This option provides more flexible service while maintaining core functionality. What this would is we maintain our standard fixed routes that we currently have. We cut that fixed route service off during the evenings and go to a microtransit service on the evenings and on Saturdays. Scenario 7
takes a similar approach by replacing fixed route and dial ride services with on-demand microtransit services during the weekday evenings and Saturdays. However, it goes a step further by revising the local fixed routes within Lompoc, including the introduction of an 8th Street shuttle to better service key areas. So, along with the same as scenario 5, we would still have a fixed route during the day, and then in the evening we go to a microtransit, but we redirect the fixed routes to be less long and more east to west direction with an 8th Street bus that goes up and down 8th Street. Scenario 8 would replace all local fixed route and ADA paratransit services with a fully on-demand microtransit service and represents a more significant shift in how transit services are provided. The consultants, Moore & Associates, in collaboration with the city staff, thoroughly evaluated the various service scenarios, considering key metrics such as available transit revenue, operation costs, capital expenses, public input, and other relevant factors. After careful analysis, it was determined that scenario 7 would be the most beneficial option for the city. This preferred service scenario strikes a balance between maintaining fixed route component, something highly valued by many of our current riders, while also increasing frequency during peak ridership. The revised routes will shift from east to west, and the introduction of the 8th Street shuttle will enhance connectivity between downtown and uptown, ultimately reducing travel time by up to 20 minutes. For example, under the current system, if you board the red line at Cypress and High, over there, at 6:10 a.m., you would arrive at Mission Plaza, Albertsons, by 6:40 a.m. With the addition of the 8th Street shuttle, you would arrive at 6:20 a.m., a full 20 minutes earlier. In addition to that, evening ridership after 5 p.m. currently accounts for only about 9% of our total daily ridership. And our Saturday ridership only accounts for half of what we see during the weekdays. By introducing microtransit services during the evenings and on Saturdays, Colt can meet rider demand in a more cost-efficient manner without the need for expanding our fixed route services during these lower demand times. Overall, Scenario 7 provides an efficient, flexible, and cost-effective solution that enhances service while addressing the needs of our diverse rider base. The preferred service scenario aims to retain the successful elements of our current system while enhancing accessibility to key services like the Clean Air Express. This vital service operates Monday through Friday, providing transit from Lompoc to various stops in Santa Barbara, with the first bus departing as early as 5:10. However, there's a gap in service. Colt's fixed route buses don't start until 6 a.m., which means that riders must drive to Cypress and I Transit Center to catch the Clean Air Express to go to Santa Barbara. By introducing an early morning, which is one of the enhancements we were talking about earlier, by introducing an early morning microtransit service, we can bridge this gap, expanding access to Clean Air Express and allowing a broader population to benefit from this important service. Additionally, one of the key elements in ensuring the success of any public transit system is effective marketing, and that's to the last bullet point on there. It's not enough to simply provide excellent service. We must also ensure that public know about them and understand how they can benefit. Increased transit marketing is crucial because it raises awareness, attracts new riders, and encourages current users to make full use of available services. In one of our workshops, we had a person who was unaware that there was a bus that went from Santa Maria straight to Lompoc. And that's just poor marketing. As we consider the various scenarios for improving our transit network, Scenario 7 stood out as one of the most advantageous options. It offers significant benefits over Scenario 5, particularly through the introduction of the 8th Street shuttle service, which enhancements to routes 1, 2, and 3. These improvements not only increase the connectivity across the city, but will also ensure a more efficient and seamless travel for all riders. Moreover, Scenario 7 is projected to outperform Scenario 8. The key difference lies in weekday fixed routes, which provide consistent, integrated coverage across the entire service area.
These fixed routes are designed to transport more riders less time at a lower cost, especially when compared to the variable independent microtransit shared trips that would be utilized during the daytime hours with scenario 8. Importantly, the city's current fleet of buses and vans is expected to be more than adequate to deliver the scenario 7 preferred service alternative, ensuring that we can meet demand effectively and efficiently without the need for additional resources. In summary, scenario 7 is the option that best balances service expansion, operational efficiency, and cost effectiveness, and will provide our community with a smoother, more reliable transit and experience going forward. If adopted, the preferred service scenario is set to launch in July 2025 under a new service contract. The first phase will introduce new route design and microtransit services with an emphasis on fine-tuning these services to ensure that they meet the needs of our community as effectively as possible. Following this, phase 2 will explore potential expansions such as increasing microtransit services on Saturdays and introducing premium microtransit options during the weekdays. Additionally, phase 2 may include an expansion of the Wine Country Express, which is our shuttle that goes to San Ynez, adding a 4th early morning route and extending service to Chumash Casino. However, the implementation of phase 2 will be guided by the outcomes of phase 1. We will closely assess the data and feedback gathered to determine which elements are successful and worth expanding upon. This approach assures that we move forward with the most effective community-driven solutions. Next steps. To begin the new Colt service contract on July 1st, 2025, the city must confirm its preferred service alternative in this year in 2024. This timeline will provide us with the necessary time to procure the required resources, award the contract, and smoothly transition services under a new agreement, setting us up for a successful launch. And at this point, I'd like to open up the floor for any discussions or questions you may have. Your feedback is invaluable, and we are here to address any of the concerns you may share.
Thank you for that. Does council have any questions? If so, press your mic button. All right. Councilmember Ball, you're live.
Yeah, this is all great news, and I appreciate all the work and thoughtfulness that goes into this. Obviously, making our system a little bit more efficient, save a little bit of time. Perhaps in a is a big deal. Time is money, as they say. Can you just help me? So when we talk, we just throw the term out there, microtransit. Again, I'm just trying to wrap my head around it versus sending a bus at a certain cost. Now we're sending something else at a lower cost. Help me wrap my head around cost efficiencies and savings when we do switch over to microtransit. Is that help me understand?
Well, currently what happens is during those non-peak hours when we have a lower ridership, our buses still maintain the same route of traveling all the way around Lompoc. If you go to a microtransit, you're going to have a more direct door-to-door service. So you're not going to have all the extra just downtime of a bus driving around town with one person sitting inside it going for an hour, where you have someone call, they'll either go on an app, which is normally commonly used in most microtransit services, is an app-based system, kind of like an Uber, but it's a little different. You go on the app and say, I need to pick up over here a microtransit bus or shuttle. We end up going to a smaller electric vehicles, which is something that might be something we end up doing, which is additional cost savings for us. We go to that location, pick you up, and then take you to the location you need to be dropped off. Now, what makes this different than like just calling a taxi is it is a ride share. So if there's another person who needs a ride along the same route that you were on, they will stop, pick you up, and then go pick that person up, and then pick the next person up. And then by that time, the time frame might be tight for them. They have to go start dropping off. So the current technology systems that they have in place for these do a lot of that sorting out for you. So that would be a key element of making sure that the system works.
The only other thing I was curious about is, if we go from a system where they're, every 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever, there's a stop, and there's some sort of predictability. The bus always goes and stops at these places. Is there a chance that we lose a little bit of that predictability? We have an on-demand system. We may be understaffed at sometimes, and people are just waiting times could go up on occasion. How do we face that or deal with that?
So in reference to the people going out to the stop, knowing that a bus comes by at that time, that's where the marketing is going to come in really handy. We are going to have to definitely reach out to the community, let them know that there will be micro transit service after that certain point in time at night, so that people are well aware of what is going on. And then at all bus stops, we'll make sure we have enough advertisement and sayings put up inside there to let people know when they come up to the bus stop, call this number. And there will be a way to dial it in. You won't have to have an app to get a ride. You can call it in and say, I need a ride. I'm over at the Walmart bus stop, and they will come and get you and take you from there.
Appreciate your answers. Thank
Yeah,
you so
no
much.
problem.
Councilmember Vega.
Well, sir, thanks for the presentation. There's some impact to cost, okay? Can you kind of clarify the different scenarios? It looks like the recommendation for scenario 7 has a 7.4% impact. Where's that money coming from, and are we currently staffed to do all this? So how are we going to pay for all this?
The increase to cost for scenario 7, the 7% is mostly relying around the fact that we will be introducing a new shuttle that goes straight down H Street. That H Street shuttle will be an additional bus during peak service times, and that's where that additional cost is coming into. However, the benefit from that service, I think, would outweigh the cost of it, because it gives you that direct route up and down Lompoc, which might increase ridership, which could end up offsetting it. As for the staffing, we currently do have the staffing to be able to handle doing this kind of service. Currently, it wouldn't be an increase really in additional buses. We'd actually might have a decrease in we have enough staff to be able to handle it, because when we go to microtransit, the same drivers that drive buses can drive the microtransit as well. You don't need a special requirement to be able to drive that bus. As a matter of fact, if we end up going to a smaller vehicle, we might not even need Class B licenses for bus drivers, depending on the vehicle size that you're using.
So is there a fiscal impact?
No, there is no fiscal impact to the general funds.
Yeah, that was my question. We want to see everything we have, everything we do, and we vote on. We always want to see the impact, even though the 7.4%. You have different percentages here. So how do you guys cover that? Say it was the 11% scenario. How would that be covered? Would that be a ridership and cost and fees, or what would that be? What would happen there?
The current transit funding comes from federal and state sources, and those fundings would definitely be able to cover the additional, as long as we are able to prove that we are increasing ridership, and those funds are going specifically towards transit, that it should be fine. We should have the funding to be able to cover those sources, to cover that increase.
Perfect, thank you.
How much of the discussion did Hancock students engage in? I am a bit concerned about losing that direct line to Hancock and going to an on-demand, and I know that students often are much more willing to use ride shares and use apps and that sort of thing, but I do worry about that sudden change given the additional investment that Hancock's made to degrees that can be completed out there, and making sure that students don't stop going because that change happens and that's their only way up to the campus.
Yes, the Hancock shuttle was also a particular concern of mine when we were looking through this whole thing as well. The original data that we got out was that the Hancock shuttle was hardly used.
Okay.
It was not very efficient at all.
Okay.
I think with the introduction, especially since young people tend to be early adopters, they'll be able to take over and definitely adopt to doing microtransit. And the current shuttle service that we have with them in the evening is almost that of an on-demand service as is. So it won't be a big leap for them to adopt over the microtransit.
Right.
It's not in my opinion.
I figured that was the case, but I thought it was important to ask given the ongoing conversations I've had with Hancock leadership about making sure that students in Lompoc have an easy way to get there, so this sounds like it will be an improvement.
Yes, it would be.
Any other questions for staff before we go to public comment? Oh, Councilmember Ayala.
I was just going to say that I think public transportation residents that use public transportation they're already using, most of them also rideshare and on-demand and other forms. So I think that that's probably why maybe we're not seeing as much of the use anymore even to Hancock, because that demographic or generation of travelers or residents is already using other means also. I just want to say that I think that the Scenario 7 is a great way to enhance the model of transportation to allow for incorporating the needs of our community today. Because it was kind of set that way, and when you come down H Street at rush hour or 5 o'clock, whatever, it's back to back. I mean, people are literally sitting out in the middle of the road, not being able to cross the lights. And I'm hoping that this will allow people, especially with that H Street shuttle, that will allow people to get from one side of the city to another, and it helps to hopefully reduce our impact. The microtransit service for me, I think, is something that you're gonna see the community probably start to pick up. And that will be a great thing because they're not having to wait for a whole round, as you mentioned, but they're actually knowing that they can call someone, not a taxi, not an Uber, but an actual city service, and get to where they need to be within a reasonable amount of time. So I like it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Stand by in case we have any questions after public comment. We will now open the floor for public comment on item 17. If you would like to speak to this item, you may come to the podium, or you may call in at 805-875-8201. With our new system, you'll see 3 minutes in green. It will go yellow at 15 seconds, and then red and the microphone off at the end of 3.
Thank you, Council. My name is Steve Bridge, and Scenario 7 is a great idea, and they've done a good job. The comments I would make is it is a little higher in cost, as Councilman Vega pointed to. I'm going to leave about 7 or 8 potential cost savings for Scenario 7. I think if money could be reallocated towards maybe free coupons to get the cultural change that's going to occur as we go to the microtransit. And we should also keep in mind that there are grants out there for self-driving vehicles, and the microtransit is a good move in that direction. So you'll find that I think people will move to the on-demand, but we should be proactive in trying to get them there, and so that's my point. But 7's a great idea.
Seeing no one else rise and no one call in, we will close public comment on this item and bring it back to council for either discussion or a motion. So again, if seeing none, Councilmember Aiello, would you like to state your motion?
Yeah, I motion to.
There you go.
I motion to approve the recommendation as presented to us, with Scenario 7 being selected as the changes for our call service.
All right, and as the screen shows you, but for those of you that haven't gotten used to looking at it, Councilmember Ball has provided that second. All right, if there are no further questions, you may cast your vote. And that passes 5-0. All right. Madam Clerk, did we have any written communications this evening?
No, ma'am.
So this is your chance for a final oral communication of the evening. Sorry. We're fighting each other with controls here. It's your opportunity for final oral communications this evening. You will have 2 minutes in this scenario. You may either come to the podium or you may call in at 805-875-8201. Again, the new system provides you the time on the digital display on the lectern. It drops to yellow when you have 15 seconds and then goes red and the light goes off. If you're calling in, we monitor the time for you and sadly hang up when your 3 minutes is up. You liked it better when I talked for 30 seconds? All right. Well, I can do that again, but we're almost out of that 30-second time. So seeing no one rise, we will close oral communications, and I will bring it back to council for your public comment. I'm going to unmute each of you, so be careful. You're all hot mic'd at this point. So as I call on you, you don't even have to worry about turning on your mic. Councilmember Vega, any reports or requests?
No, but this is the last council meeting for November, and I'd like to wish all of you and your family a safe and happy Thanksgiving. And thanks for attending and paying attention. We need your support so we can make better decisions. So, thank you.
Councilmember Cordova?
No reports.
Councilmember Ball?
Just a couple of quick ones. I was so excited to visit the new Communify building, be there with the mayor for the ribbon cutting this past week. Just so great. If you're not aware of it, it's the old First Valley Bank building on Walnut and H Street. A lot of important, helpful resources for everyone from seniors to kids getting involved in early Head Start and Head Start. It's a great new resource or updated resource for the community. Also got to attend the LVCHO 25th anniversary. Congratulations to them, a lot of hard work and partnerships that they've done. And then I just had a council request. Someone had requested that we take on figuring out how to maybe install some cameras at the parking lot at Cypress and I. Again, that's a city parking lot. We've got a lot of locals that are trusting the city to take care of their property on city property while they're commuting away for work. So if there's an effort that we can make to ensure their security or add some security, I think that's the least we can do. So that'd be my request.
I will give you your second, and we need a third.
Can I make a statement?
Sure.
You don't need to do a council, unless you want it to come back. I mean, I can just look into it and see if it's feasible when we put cameras up all over the place for security. And I think we could probably make that happen, but if it.
So I think even if we don't make a council request, you look into it, make it part of your city manager report as to, so that we keep the public informed as to how we're moving forward and what the results are.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, Councilmember Starbuck.
Have no reports.
You sure? I mean, any assessment on the new system?
Well, I can't say that here.
Okay. I'm going to say you did an excellent job. You got it down.
That doesn't mean it doesn't. Anyhow.
All right. I just want to give you the ribbon for adopting it as quickly as you have and doing as well as you are.
I feel really good about that.
Good. All right. I attended the LVCHO's 25th anniversary as well, and I want to congratulate them for all the work they're doing in our community, the Communify grand opening and the Connection Center. It's a very valuable resource. Please don't hesitate to utilize it. Part of their new program, they're utilizing software that will help you assess not only the program you're going in for, but if you qualify for any other program you might not be aware of through some new software that they are the first in the state to be utilizing. So they can help address issues no matter what the problem you're having. I attended the Veterans Day ceremony as well as I saw Councilmember Vega there, so thank you for being there. And I want to thank the Lompoc Veterans and Associates Council for organizing that as usual. I attended NCPA, our Northern California Power Agency, which is our electrical power joint powers associations, both the executive and the regular meeting. The city managers and mayors meeting with Vandenberg Space Force Base. We had both a North Santa Barbara County meeting and a meeting with some of the SLO cities regarding issues in support of the base. The Lompoc Valley Chamber of Commerce Economic Development Committee. I participated in the Halloween trick-or-treat event here at City Hall, and I just want to thank all the different departments and facilities that participated in it. There are so many people that come up and are excited for that event, and you guys always do such a great job of putting that on, so thank you for that. I attended the local area formation committee meeting. That's the annexation process. I had responsibilities with the California Organization for Governments as part of my Santa Barbara County area government appointment that I attended. REACH had its most recent economic development roundtable, which I also participated in as your community representative. And a shout out to the Boy Scout Pack 2103. They came to City Hall. We did a discussion for their badge on citizenship at the kindergarten, the fourth grade and the fifth grade level. And then we toured City Hall and talked about concerns and projects they're looking to do to contribute to our community. And I just want to say thank you for being a great group that was really interested in how you can contribute and how you can be better citizens. With that, we will adjourn. Our next City Council meeting will be December 3rd, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Thank you.